Hey there, and welcome to Insomnia Insight number 376, in which we'll go over something that I think is really, really, really important. And the reason I say this is because I have so many clients that as soon as they connect with me, they say, hey, listen, Daniel, I'm really excited working with you, but I have to say I've tried CBTi using, with the therapist, with the coach, self-directed, and it helped a little bit, but I'm still struggling. Like I had a client actually just over the weekend who came in who said, my sleep efficiency is 76%. This is my sleep window. How can I improve this? And I really want to talk here about how there is a fundamental flaw. There's a fundamental problem with cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia. And the reason this is so important is because I know so many people out there, maybe yourself, you are a person who is very goal-oriented, who's driven, who wants to get things done the right way, the best one. You found that CBTi is the gold standard, and when that doesn't seem to work, things can easily feel hopeless. So it's so important to know that there is a fundamental flaw in CBTi that we'll cover today, and you'll see how when you go in a little bit of a different direction, things really, really starts to happen that are, positive things start to happen, like magic starts to happen, all right? So having set that up there, I want to actually share something with you, which is I was tuning into this YouTube channel that I've been following lately. I've been interested in kind of the macroeconomic stuff like that. And we're going to hear from William White, who's a Canadian economist. And what he said in this interview, it just like struck me. It was like, this is exactly what I think, but in a completely different area. So we're going to look at an answer. It's about a 1-minute answer where he gets the question of, the question is, central bankers, people in the Fed and in government are very smart people. How come they get things wrong over and over and over again, right? That is the question. So let's take a look at, the answer that he gives here, and then we'll spin off of that.
What do they expect? Well, I've been around this community now for pretty close on to 50 years. And let me assure you that most of the people that you're talking about are enormously smart people, and their hearts are in the right place, and they're wanting to do good. The fundamental problem is, in a sense, not with the central bankers, but with the analytical framework. That these people have bought into an analytical framework that, unfortunately, from my perspective, is wrong. And the fundamental error that I think has been made is not even an economic error. It's a philosophical error. It's an epistemological error. They have made an assumption about the character of the economic system that is wrong. They're starting off with the idea that the system is comprehensible, it's understandable, and it's controllable. And my view, and it has been for quite some period of time, is that this is wrong. That the starting assumption ought to be the economy is a complex, adaptive system, and it has characteristics, including unintended consequences, that are not present in models or analytical frameworks that assume the system is comprehensible and controllable.
That was it. When I heard that, what he just said there, it just struck me. It's like, this is exactly what's happening in the world of CBTi. So many people that have studied these are very smart, well-intended people, but there is a fundamental assumption that is incorrect. And you may have heard me say this before, but what I call this is implied controllability. And when I say implied controllability, nobody will tell you that, yeah, you can control sleep. No CBTi person will say that, but it is implied. It's implied with these behavioral techniques that you are told to do or told to follow, that if you do them, you will achieve some degree of control. And that is ultimately what gets you into so much problem, because insomnia comes from a place where you feel like you've lost control. And the more you try to control it, the more slippery things become, the more trouble you have, the more insomnia you have. It's like a soap, like the more you try to hold on to it, that bar of soap, the more slippery it becomes, right? So the problem here is the same as in economics, or at least I totally agree with this economist, William White. It's implied controllability. And where does it lead? In the sleep world, where does implied controllability, this fundamental flaw, where does it lead? Well, I have two examples here. It leads to sleep restriction and sleep efficiency calculation. This is where you're told, like, get up at 5, don't even go to bed before midnight. You have a 5-hour sleep window, and now calculate how much you sleep, your sleep efficiency, and then adjust the sleep window accordingly. That is one outcome of implied control. It is implied that if you just make yourself really sleepy, you have such a strong sleep drive that it will make you sleep, and then you can extend the sleep window. This is implied controllability. And the other one is stimulus control. Stimulus control is basically you're told, like, get out of the bed if you haven't fallen asleep in 20 minutes so your brain can start reassociating the bed with sleep. And the fundamental problem here is the same one as this implied controllability, that if you do this, your brain will start associating the bed with sleep, and you can control associations in the brain. And so the fundamental thing is, again, like, this implied controllability is a problem when it is your desire for control that is the reason you have trouble sleeping. And so when you see this very, very clearly, like, you see that, okay, there is a problem here. Yeah. The great thing with CBTi is education. Like, when you learn that most people sleep about 6 hours, there's no health issues with sleeping short, things like that. That's fantastic, and the 3P model is great. The concept of sleep effort is fantastic. But CBTi is so reliant on these two things, sleep restriction and stimulus control, which are so problematic that makes it, very, very difficult for a lot of people to get to a place where they want to be, which is sleeping great and having no pressure to sleep, and just living a happy life with peace of mind. So when you see this, and you may easily think, like, okay, I get it. Like, but if I cannot control sleep or control the associations my brain forms, what should I do? It can feel like almost like, okay, so what do I do now? Well, you take a different path. You go sort of in the opposite direction, and then magic happens all by itself. That is the key. Like, when you let go of control, sleep happens all by itself. Peace of mind happens all by itself. Okay, but how do I do that? How do I go in the opposite direction? Well, everything on this channel is to guide you in that direction. So just study and stay here. But something really practical to kind of offset these two things we have from CBTi that are not helpful. I'll say these two things. Number one, replace sleep restrictions, sleep efficiency calculations with the timeless sleep window. The timeless sleep window. And what do I mean by that? Well, the timeless sleep window is a period of time during the night where you don't know what time it is, you don't track sleep, and you basically allow sleep to happen when it happens. And I think a great way to do this is to, instead of, like in CBTi, it's like having this short, narrow window that makes you anxious, do something generous that you can do forever, or like for the time being. You have no pressure, like 7.5 hours, something like that. I get up at 6, I stop checking the time at 10:30 or 11, something like that. That is the timeless sleep window, and that offsets this control drive that we have in sleep restriction. So I think that is really, really helpful. And it's good to, like, get up about the same time every morning. I think that is, generally speaking, helpful. But more important than that is letting go of control, which the timeless sleep window helps you do. And then replacing stimulus control with befriending wakefulness. So instead of being like, I gotta get out, I gotta make myself sleepy, I gotta wait for sleep, then you go, okay, I'm awake now, and I'm gonna make that acceptable to me. I'm gonna read a little bit, or do a crossword puzzle, or watch some Netflix, or do something that I like. So instead of, like, trying to force an association, then you change the root association that is the reason you have insomnia, which is the association that being awake is a threat, a problem, something I have to get rid of. You replace that association with being awake is acceptable, and then it doesn't matter if you're in bed or not. Like, when wakefulness becomes your friend, acceptable, sleep can happen because that pressure to sleep is gone, and there's no threat picture at all. Now, the tricky thing here is that everything can become an effort. So, somebody could easily come back and say, hey, listen, I tried the timeless sleep window and befriending wakefulness, but it didn't work. I still can't sleep. Well, then again, you're trying to control sleep. And what I'm teaching here is all about, it's tricky, but what I'm teaching here is all about, like, using kind of your innate, like, problem-solving nature that you have to reduce the act of problem solving. That's where you want to go. And so when you kind of process everything we talked about here, when you internalize it, when you think about it, everything becomes, like, clear and in a peaceful manner. You see the path in front of you, and you see that it doesn't require any effort. So to conclude here, when you are aware of this problem that William White so eloquently described, the implied control, when you're aware of the implied controllability problem, then, when you see that that is a roadblock, then, just that awareness brings wonderful things to you when you walk the peaceful and gentle path of the timeless sleep window, befriending wakefulness, and everything else we talk about here. I hope this brought a lot of value to you. And again, if you've been on the path of CBT, traditional CBTi, and it didn't help you, you're not alone. There's nothing wrong with you or anything. It's just a little bit of misinformation, a little bit of flaw there. So that said, if you like the teaching here and you would like a little bit more guidance and support than that's here in these videos, then you are very welcome to head to the App Store and check out BedTyme with a Y, where you get one-on-one coaching from myself. I think it is a wonderful way to sleep well. If you would like, on the other hand, not one-on-one coaching, but rather join a group of people that are on the same path, the path towards NADO, the path towards non-attachment to the outcome and sleeping well, then check out our self-coaching master program, which you can find here on thesleepcoachschool.com. And if you're actually thinking of becoming a sleep coach yourself, then you're welcome to apply. So with that said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I look forward to having you here very soon. Until then, take it easy.